Good morning. Sorry for the slight delay. I had a little error that came up and had to restart the computer. I hope everyone is having a nice evening. We are over here in Vietnam, and this is our last official day of vacation. So we have Jen and Carolyn and Robin on, and Lisa, of course. So this is going to go just like it usually does. You guys are welcome to go ahead and chat in the chat room or in the chat bar with Lisa, and she will absolutely touch on all the questions. But if you want me to specifically ask something, we want you to put them in the ask a question bar at the bottom, so then I can timestamp and kind of go through them with a structure. So I hope everyone has had a really great week. We love seeing everyone's activity in the Facebook group and what you guys are learning. The first 2 weeks are absolutely the learning phase if you guys are just starting with the nutrition code course. It's the discovery phase. You're finding how certain foods have a lot more of something than you might have thought they did, how other foods may not have been the macronutrient that you thought they were. And then you're seeing that when life gets thrown at you, like there's parties or there's any sort of events or there's travel, that now there's a different aspect that you have to navigate. And it's totally doable. Navigating all of those circumstances are doable. I mean, I've been in Vietnam for almost 2 weeks now, and Jeff and I just keep touching on, if you understand macronutrients, which you guys do and will, you can literally navigate anything. Anything in the world, doesn't matter where you are, doesn't matter what kind of event you're at. If you understand what the amount of portion for your body will look like, and then you know the macronutrients, you will be able to navigate anything, and it'll be your choice. It'll be your choice if you want to consume something in excess, or if you want to stay along with what's right for you in terms of balance and portion size for your goals. So we're empowering you with the knowledge, and ultimately you get to choose. So without further ado, let me see here. How was everyone's week, by the way? How's everyone doing? We have a little bit of a lag time here, and let us know if for whatever reason the connection is spotty. It's been pretty good here in Vietnam so far, but just want to check in. Good. Okay. Nice, Robin. Excellent. Excellent, Jen. Yeah, Jen, you were sick. I'm sorry. All right. Okay, so, oh yeah, Lisa says, happy to be back in my kitchen. Jen says, yeah, it was terrible. Oh my gosh, stomach stuff is the worst. It's the worst. And, you know, they talk about like our stomach being our second brain, essentially. And when we have stomach issues, it really knocks us down. Our body does not like that. Oh, I'm so excited to be back in my kitchen. Let me tell you, I'm excited for meal prep. That just, yeah, goes to show. Okay, so let us get this ball rolling right away, and we're going to start actually talking about carb cycling. So this first question we have here is, what is carb cycling, and who is it good for, and how do I incorporate it into my week? This was a question that came up in the Nutrition Code Facebook group. So I'm going to go ahead and touch on it a little bit, and then I'm going to give you guys an example. So in my experience, carb cycling is, well, first of all, what is it? Carb cycling is when we take 3 different carb ranges and we spread them throughout a 7-day period. And in this 7-day period, we will have 2 high carb days, 3 low carb days, and 2 moderate carb days. And they will go up and then they'll go back down. And what this does is it basically fuels glycogen stores on the high carb days, and then it slowly drops them off on the lower carb or medium carb days. And so your body's going through this cyclical influx and then deprivation, essentially. What this allows for certain people is a little bit more flexibility if they have kind of erratic schedules. So this topic came up because hours that she has to work. So on some days, it's extremely evident that she needs a lot more energy on certain days, which would require her to have more carbs for that energy. And then she'll have the following day, for example, a day that she has a lot more sleeping that's going on as she's recovering. So she may not need as many carbs because she doesn't need that energy, but her body could benefit from some more recovery-based foods that might be higher in fat and protein. So looks like, and just be prepared that it's definitely math-based. So let me see here, application window, got it. Okay, so this is an example of carb cycling. Right now it looks like a lot of numbers. I'm gonna have you guys focus primarily on the top area first. So we have macro calorie count. We have the green, which is your low carb day. We have the yellow, which is the moderate carb day, and then the blue, which is a high carb day. So this is the breakdown here at the top of the calories, but we don't really need to know the calories. It's just giving you another data point for intake. What we really look at is the macro split. So you can take your total calories, moderate carb days, and high carb days. And the thing to look at here is when we place certain days and dub them as high carb days, we really want to place them on days where we are expending the most energy for our week. And then the other aspect of this is that it's important to have at least 2 lower carb days between your high carb, because we're really trying to give your body a surplus and then give it time to use through any excess so that it can go through that process and not go into overflowing the storage tanks of glycogen. So when we're looking at these guys, I actually find that this is great for people who, again, have the erratic schedules, but also people who like a little bit more variety in their diet. I personally, when I think about carb cycling, and I've tried it before and it's been fine, I like consistency personally. I like to be able to expect that, okay, I know exactly what target I'm looking for every day. I like to have similar numbers so I can just adjust a couple things in the day if I need to, or I want to change some items up. Carb cycling definitely takes more awareness. So I wouldn't recommend it for beginners in the once a year. You can absolutely try carb cycling. And if you are interested in this, let us know and we will take your total calories and then just give you a quick spreadsheet for low, medium, and high carb days. And then you can play around with it. Again, it usually takes a week to 2 weeks to really kind of get in the rhythm and see how it works for your schedule. But this is another opportunity. It's another tool that you can. This process would actually be really helpful for travel. Because some travel days you're not moving at all, and then other travel days you're moving a ton and you may want to try more foods and things like that. So when you're traveling, sitting on a plane, you may not need as many carbohydrates. You could be higher in protein and fats. On the, when you finally arrive to your destination and you're discovering and you're walking around and you want to try different foods, then you could possibly do the higher carb days. The last thing I want to show you here is the top portion, the 7th day here. It has the surplus, and this is essentially your recovery meal already built into the structure. So we have 2 high carb days, but one of them is actually even higher in calories overall. Okie dokie. So I think that should explain that guy. If you guys have more questions about that, go ahead and place them in the question box. If not, and if we want to get to it later, we can also touch on it again through the Facebook group. All right, so we're done answering that. Hi, Marge. I saw that you just popped on. All right, next question here. So is it normal to not see weight loss progress when you get your period right before the weekly check-in and feel bloated? Approximately how much weight fluctuation is normal for the first days of the cycle? Lisa, did we want to wait on this one for at the end when we talk about it? Okay. So, okay. I think we're going to need to maybe repost that question, but that's a great question. It comes up very frequently. All right, next one. So Lisa and I are going to get to talking about the menstrual cycle and how cravings and weight fluctuation and all these things affect us. We're going to do that together at the end of this Q&A. So we get to see Lisa today. Okay, next guy. Is there a limit to how many protein bars and or protein powder supplements you should consume in one day? Okay, so ideally, protein bars are excellent for a balanced snack or even a meal extremely rushed when you're traveling. They're just a great tool to have at your disposal. But in terms of overall health, we really want you to get the majority of your food from whole food items, because that's where you get all of the amazing vitamins and minerals and antioxidants and all of these incredible health benefits that come from whole food choices. It doesn't matter how quote unquote healthy it says that it is in the packaging or the marketing. If we have processed food items, our body isn't going to appreciate it as much as it will whole food. I actually did a couple segments on the tropical fruits here, and as I was learning about them, I was like, wow, our fruits and vegetables are so amazing because they contain so many vital nutrients and antioxidants that do all of the things for our body. Prevent gum disease, prevent cancer. They're good for healing. They're good for energy. It's just incredible. So the short answer to this is that if you can limit protein bars or protein supplements, especially the bars, to once a day, that would be ideal if you absolutely have to use it for your diet. If you want to do 2 times a day because you're running around, that's okay. It's totally fine. But when you have a choice, the recommendation is that choose whole foods. Choose whole foods. The only kind of caveat here is when we're looking at protein powder, as protein powder is really effective. It's kind of this, more advanced tool that we get to use when we want to recover from a training program, because that protein's going to get in very quickly. But at the same time, if you wanted to eliminate all protein supplements altogether, having eggs or egg whites directly after your training is also like the second best thing to getting the whey protein. Some people might even do better with that. So you can totally try that out and have eggs or egg whites. If you're trying to keep your fat down, then having egg whites after your training session is a really great recovery protein supplement. But otherwise, totally okay if you use them. We recommend them to some people, and absolutely for travel, it's a key thing to help you stay in balance. But when you have the choice, we would much prefer or recommend that you choose whole foods. Okay, next one. When is the best time to drink water with my meals, in between, and all the time? Ooh, I love this question. Okay, so water is best consumed, in my experience and from what I understand through research, is that water is best consumed between meals. We have digestive enzymes that are helping to digest our food when we do have meals. And when we actually drink water with the meals, the water dilutes the enzymes, so they're not able to function as well. When we drink water before meals, like 30 minutes or so before, having about 12 ounces of water, what happens is it helps to almost like clean the system of whatever was still hanging out in your stomach. And now it gives your body a better opportunity to have like a clean slate, so that it can better absorb and digest the new food and nutrients that you're putting into the system. The analogy that comes to mind is if you were to put dishes in the dish sink and you didn't want to wash them before putting more dishes in. You just wanted to leave them there. So the process of washing them can be almost akin to having water in between your meals. That may not be the perfect analogy, but that's just what came to mind. So having water first thing in the morning, it really helps to get the liver, kidneys, and adrenal glands flushed out. So having it first thing upon waking, I really like putting a little bit of lemon, even hot water with lemon and a touch of honey first thing in the morning, because that honey with the glucose acts as a binder to the water and will help to pull it through your system. It can be really gentle on your body and help to move things along to start out the day. So the short answer is that if you have the option, drinking water in between meals and also first thing in the morning would be the best time to drink water. Okay, and skipping it during meals. I know that's weird, or it's not common for us. Okay, we're gonna save that one. Next one, this is for our movement segment. So Nikki asks, can foam rolling be incorporated during downtime in addition to right before a workout? I understand that we're doing it to warm up the muscles before a workout, but I feel like I have spots all over that need attention. It's taking forever to get everywhere. So curious to how we can do foam rolling at other times. Awesome question. So if you guys do have an exercise practice or you're a part of our Awaken Your Movement course, right now we're talking about warm-ups and mobility. So foam rolling can be done anytime. It's awesome for warm-up for your muscles because of the aspect that it really helps to signal a release to the tendons to release tension of the muscle tissue. But realistically, you can put on a movie and just go to town on foam rolling all the things. I have certainly done that with a peanut. I like the peanut myself. The foam rolling is the same. So yes, you can totally do that at different times. I understand it takes a long time to do foam rolling before workouts. So what you might focus on in those times is just directing your attention primarily to the joints around the muscles that you will be focusing on in that session. So let's say that maybe it's a more leg dominant day and that you're doing a little bit of chest along with that workout. Maybe the knee joint and kind of skip like calves and things like that. Although realistically, you need your whole body, but if you find the most tender spots, focus on those. And then when you get home and you have some free time or freer time, I don't feel like we have free time anymore, then you can really start to go through the whole body and see how that feels for you. Done answering that one. Okay. And let me see. Next one here. Would boxing or shadow boxing count as part of the 30 to 60 minutes of steady state cardio recommendations 5 times a week for an endomorph body type? Does walking briskly count? Yes, absolutely. I guess it would kind of depend on the intensity of the shadow boxing, but absolutely 30 to 60 minutes, you're just moving. The experience that I have when looking at this body type is that generally speaking, the endomorph body type really kind of likes to move slower. It's been fascinating. We were at the beach yesterday and I was looking at all these different body types. It's just like a fun game almost. And watching how endomorphs really just move in a slower way. And that's just part of the system. While ectomorphs and mesomorphs were a little bit more like bounce around, active. So I would say that as long as you are encouraging your body to move at a quicker rate, whether it's walking briskly, whether it's shadow boxing, but having faster movements that you would normally be asking of your body, that's really what we're looking for. And we're looking for it consistently. So just as this person asked in the question, 30 to 60 minutes of that consistent, just like you're not stopping, you're just like, you're still moving the whole time. That totally counts. And I'll be excited to see how it feels. All right, I think somebody else just popped on here. Who was that? We have Ryan, okay. Somebody else just sneaked on for a second, I saw that. Oh, hi, Kristen, it's you. Okay, excellent. Okay, let me see. Kristen, we're getting to the cycle question at the end here. All right. Let me see here. Next question. If I identify mostly as an endomorph, should my resistance training comprise mostly of strength endurance, higher reps, light, moderate weight, little rest? Would circuit style classes, Barry's boot camp, be a good fit for me? Awesome. Okay. So for endomorphs, circuit style training is excellent. It's highly recommended. The only thing that I would say is if your goal is fat loss, yes. We definitely want you to be doing circuit style training. If your goal is more so to build strength, then that would require a different type of training. And then doing heavier lifts with longer rest would be your goal. So then you would want to train in that way. But if your goal is fat loss, having that consistent movement where you're not giving your body the time to rest and recover effectively, you're not moving slowly during those rest periods is ideal. So getting cardio in, steady state cardio, in addition to the circuit style training, Barry's boot camp can totally work. Something to think about when you are including things like Barry's or like Orange Theory is because the volume is so high with the amount of reps and the amount of load that you're putting on certain muscles over a period of time. Usually clients feel a pretty interesting swelling that happens the first 2 to 3 weeks because the body is adapting to a very different training volume. So if you think about filling a bucket, for example, and every time that you do a rep, it fills up a little bit more. And those buckets are essentially the water and the nutrients that are going into your muscle tissue. But so when you are doing really high rep ranges, where you're going from using weights into running on the treadmill, which is still going to be a repetition, it's asking for fluid to go into this bucket, it's going to fill it pretty rapidly and it's going to fill it to the point where your body is going to hold on to that fluid for a period of time as it works to recover and adapt to this new stimulus. So I just want to prepare people that when they do start something like Barry's and it's in the beginning and it's new training for them, they will generally experience swelling and even a delay in weight loss progress because the body is holding on to that water and those nutrients so much more. So just something to think about. It should go away within 2 to 3 weeks. And then you'll actually start to see what your body looks like when it does not have that that swelling or that retention as the body is adapting to a new stimulus. But the short answer for endomorphs is that yes, that circuit style training is excellent. I would recommend it for you guys. Okay. Here's this good question. Okay. So next one here, can I skip drinking alcohol during the week and consume multiple drinks in one day session for less impact on fat loss? Okay, so when it comes to alcohol is a little bit more of a tricky bastard because it's different than food in the sense where alcohol, its impact will happen primarily in the liver, not only in the liver, but that's a primary impact that it'll have in the liver. Depending on if you're male or female, females can generally metabolize only a serving of alcohol every hour. Males, it's going to be about 1.5 servings every hour, because they have more of a certain enzyme that helps them to metabolize alcohol faster. If you have more alcohol than your body can metabolize within an hour period, our body actually starts to diminish its ability to metabolize the alcohol because now you've pushed past that barrier. So if you have ever experienced feeling hungover or still drunk the day after drinking, it's because you are. It's because your body has now pushed past the limit of what it can metabolize and it's still holding alcohol in the liver. And so you're essentially still metabolizing the alcohol that it couldn't metabolize the night prior. So it's not actually conducive to put all your drinks, if you are budgeting for alcohol, into one sitting. I generally say that nothing good ever happens after 3 drinks, because it's true. Your life doesn't get better. Your body doesn't get better. Your energy the next day doesn't get better. Your sleep doesn't get better. Your mood doesn't get better. Like, nothing good ever happens after 3. And so if you can spread your intake of 3 drinks, and that can be a maximum over 3 hours, that's fine. If you want to save all of your alcohol intake for what you would be doing during the week and have like a 3 drink max on a day on the weekend. When we start to pair 2 days of the weekend with 3 drinks, now we're even coming into a different issue, which is your body needs about 24 hours to recover from that amount of alcohol. So it's going to require your body even longer, because the liver is still working to rid itself of the toxin and get back to its normal function. And the main thing here, and if you guys haven't looked at the alcohol guide, highly recommend that you do that, because it'll talk a little bit more in detail about what happens in the liver. But just to touch on it again here, when we drink alcohol, our liver is taking the intake as the priority specimen for what it needs to rid itself of first. Alcohol is absolutely a toxin. It doesn't matter what culture you're from and how they tout that red wine is good for you. It's going to be better for you to not drink. Period. There is no study that says drinking is better than not drinking for health. It is a poison, and our body has to metabolize it. So when we are drinking alcohol and our body recognizes it as a poison, basically our liver takes over all of the function to metabolize it. And when it's doing that, all other processes stop. All other jobs that the liver is trying to do basically take a back seat in the bus. And the most important one, at least in our topic, is fat metabolism. So the liver is pretty responsible for fat metabolism. And when it's so focused on metabolizing alcohol, its job of metabolizing fat takes a total backseat. So progress can be stalled if we look at drinking excessively on the weekends. And when I say stalled, I mean put to a standstill. And that's just the reality. And I don't want to beat around the bush around it, but if you are deciding to drink 3-4 drinks on Fridays and Saturdays, and you're wondering why your weight isn't changing, it's because it's too much. Your body hasn't been able to recover yet. And when we have 2 days like that back to back, it can take up to 5 days for the body to fully recover. And if you look at a Friday or Saturday drinking, and then you look at waiting for your body to, get back on the bandwagon and see a weight drop by Friday, well, that might happen, but if you are starting again on Friday and Saturday, then you're going to be in this perpetual cycle of stalling. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news on that one. I lived it personally, so I could understand. Again, if you guys have any additional questions, go ahead and pop them in the question box. Okay, let me see here. Oh, and this is a perfect pairing for the second question. So this one says, what happens in terms of progress/fat burning after overeating in a surplus of 500 calories, for example, in a day? How long would it generally take to get back to being in a deficit? And what do we do after we have a fuck it day? Awesome. Okay, so this is great to be paired directly after an excess of alcohol consumption, for example. So huge difference, first thing right out of the gate, is that the difference between overconsumption and alcohol is that we have this impact on the liver, right? The difference in overconsumption of food is that we have a fueling of glycogen stores. We have a fueling of something we can actually put to use. Alcohol, not so much. Not only can we not use it effectively for various processes of recovery and fueling muscle contraction and transporting vitamins and minerals through our body, but it also puts the fat metabolism at a standstill and puts other processes that our body's doing on hold. When we have an excess of food consumption, now we have a lot more opportunity to actually put that to use. So if we had an excess of carb, excess of fat, we can get right in the gym that next day and put that energy to use. So we can actually use it to our advantage. If there is an opportunity for a workout the following day, we can go into a slight deficit. And what that will allow is it'll allow our body an additional opportunity to use through that excess that it may have gotten. The other thing is that if you have a day where it's too much and it's 500 calories or so above what you're looking to consume on a daily basis, partly that can be treated as a recovery meal day. If you are looking at it in the context of a fuck it day, you might look at whether or not that's true. Because so many times I've received logs from clients and they've been like, oh, this day was so bad. Like I just really messed up. And I look at it and I'm like, it's actually not. Like there was a pretty good balance of everything and the food items were good. There was just more than we needed. So it wasn't really a fuck it day. And so how do we put that to use and to our advantage? So in those circumstances, we basically have two ideal choices. One of them is have a really solid workout the following day to put that energy to use and actually allow your body to put it to work. So put those nutrients to work in a better way. The other one is to reduce intake the following day or even the following couple days, reduce intake by like 100 to 200 calories on the following 2 days and then get back into a baseline. This is another reason why the average that we ask for with the nutrition code course really helps to kind of see that one day or one meal does not break a diet. You can look at the average of the 7 days and see how it reflects you. And then the final thing is to gain or lose a full pound of fat, there has to be a surplus or a deficit of like 3,500 calories. 3,500 calories make up 1 pound of fat. So it's not going to put your body in a standstill to have a surplus of 500 calories in one sitting. It might take a little bit longer for your body to digest it because it's so much at one time, but it's not going to stall progress. Different story if it's alcohol. I hope this helps. Looking out the window because they're trying to wash the windows right now. And I'm like, no, it's going to be noisy. All right. Next guy. This is from Nikki. Love your questions, Nikki. Is it okay to skip breakfast on the weekends and just have coffee, no cream or sugar? Or should I add some collagen or protein powder to it? I find that skipping breakfast and having coffee only helps me get walking in first thing in the morning. Then I can cook something at home and really sit down and enjoy it. Absolutely. Coffee does not have a real impact in terms of insulin. And even so, if you like to have coffee first thing in the morning on the weekends and get your body moving, I would say that that's a much greater benefit than anything else. I wouldn't add collagen. I wouldn't add protein. I would just drink coffee. I would even bring a bottle of water with you when you are walking so that you can continually like flush out and help your body get more hydrated first thing in the morning as well. And then when you get home, going and cooking. I think that's a great start to a Saturday or Sunday. I want to do that. All right, this is another one from Nikki. If I'm out of town or away from my kitchen with limited access to food selections, can my one low carb meal of the day be a protein shake? Yes. Yeah, absolutely. We are really wanting you to get vegetables in as much as possible just because of all the vitamins and minerals and enzymes and antioxidants that we get from those guys. But if you don't have access and you're, for example, like on a work trip or traveling somewhere and it's not an option, protein shake. Absolutely. It can be used as a tool for that, for sure. Okay. This one's from Terry. Will I always have leftover carbs at the end of the day if I incorporate the 1 time a day low carb meal? What should we do in those? Are we always going to be under in carbs? Great question, Terry. I know this can be a little confusing. So when we look at the low carb meals, what we can do is, first of all, we look at low carb meals being around 20 grams of carbs or under. So low carb doesn't mean no carb. It means we want it to be fibrous vegetables and lean protein only. But having about 20 grams and under is a pretty good goal. So that means that, let's say for the majority of time, you're looking at having 20 or 30 to 40 grams of carbs at other main meals. You can simply take the other 15 grams of carbs, for example, that would have gone into that low carb meal and spread it throughout the rest of the day. It's going to add maybe 3 additional grams of carbs to the other meals or snacks that have carbs in them, 3 to 5, depending on how many meals you're having a day. But you shouldn't necessarily be under on carbs daily. You can keep that low or non-complex carb meal, complex carb-free meal to 20 grams of carbs coming from vegetables, and that should sort you right out, and then spread the rest of the carb intake throughout the rest of the meals of the day. I hope that helps, Terry. Okay. This one is from Gisu. If I am under on calories but already over on fat and still hungry, is it okay to exceed the individual fat macronutrient range? Otherwise, it's hard to have certain snacks with even 1 to 2 grams of fat. Yeah, totally. The only thing I would say with this is that as you're finding that you get to the end of the day and sorry, there's a lot of noise that just happened. If you're getting to the end of the day and you have a lot of fat that you've already reached your fat budget, what I recommend doing then is looking throughout the rest of your day and learning from where you can possibly reduce fat in certain areas. What I find is with some of the more packaged and processed foods, it's really hard to get fat lower because items like, this is something I was looking at this morning, Dave's Killer Seed Bread. It's one of those items, and I've talked about it before, it's one of those items that is marketed so well as being healthy because it's organic everything. It's organic everything. It has to be healthy. And it has added protein and omegas in it. And it has all this added stuff in it. But bread should really only be 4 ingredients: yeast, flour, salt, water. That's it. But Dave's Killer Seed Bread has like 50 ingredients. But why? It doesn't need all of those. So I actually find that when we have removed Dave's Killer Seed Bread from diets, that people have dropped weight, which is really interesting. And it just goes to show, at least how my brain thinks about that, is that when we have fewer ingredients and our body can recognize the natural state that they're in, our body will much more readily be able to use the nutrients immediately and not have to kind of sift through all of the natural flavors or other all of the products, but some of them have a higher fat content because of the seeds and nuts. So for those types of items, the ones that are prepackaged and have all of the macronutrients kind of as a mishmash, it might be harder to get fat low. But if you are taking whole foods, for example, chicken or fish, vegetables, a carb like a rice or a pasta, and then adding the fat to that, like olive oil or avocado or even butter, then you can easily kind of navigate what you need more of. So if you do find that you're at that point at the end of the day, you're like, okay, I need something to eat. If I eat this, I'm going to be over on fat. It's totally fine to go a little bit over. But what my recommendation would be is to learn from where you can make adjustments earlier in the day so that you have more wiggle room in the evening. Especially in the beginning, trying to stick to whole foods whenever possible is going to be the easiest thing to do in terms of balancing, so that you can go back and kind of build meals by protein, carbs, and fat is kind of like the last add, and then really ensuring that you're getting fat from good sources of fat. So avocado, coconut, olive oil, even dark chocolate is a good one. Yes. Hey, Terry. Great to have you. We did just answer one of your questions, so you'll be able to go back and listen to that one.
Hi, Shannon.
Siri is being weird. Okay. All righty. Oh, this is a good one. So next question here. Previously, I practiced intermittent fasting with a 12-8 split. For those of you who are not familiar with intermittent fasting, there is feeding windows and fasting windows. And the traditional feeding and fasting window is 12 hours of fasting and then 8 hours of feeding. And then the question says, I feel like since I've started eating smaller portion meals, I feel less satisfied. Will this get better? How can I make my meals feel bigger with more volume? Great question. So the first thing, easy way to make your meals bigger with more volume is to add vegetables. Vegetables, fruit, whole protein sources will all contain a lot more volume than packaged foods. So it's really hard to get calories up when you are eating vegetables that are really high in water and fiber. I find that if I make myself a really solid salad that has tomatoes, cucumbers, celery, onions, spinach, sometimes I can't even finish the whole thing. And it's like in a container that's like this, and it barely reaches 100 calories. So building the volume of your meals by getting your protein, whole protein sources, and then a lot of vegetables and things that have a lot of fiber and water in them, that will help. In terms of eating smaller meals throughout the day, your body will totally adjust. If you're used to eating larger meals, basically what happens is your stomach expands. And so as your stomach expands, there's even like a muscular experience that it has where it's used to feeling full, right? And there's almost like there can be a feeling of, oh, okay, now I'm full, because that pressure is against the stomach. As you start to moderate meals more, the stomach will get smaller and the pressure will happen at a different point. So we certainly want you to get to that, because having too much food at one time isn't ideal. And the one thing with most intermittent fasting is that although having fasting windows can be super beneficial and healthy to just give your body the opportunity to just have water during those periods, generally speaking, when most people do intermittent fasting, they eat huge portions at one time, and the body doesn't like that. It doesn't matter how like healthy it is for you. If we are distending the amount of space that our stomach can actually occupy in terms of food, our body isn't appreciating that. It doesn't matter how healthy it is or how healthy intermittent fasting is supposed to be. If we're eating more volume than our body can metabolize, it's going to do more harm than good. I hope that one helps. Okay. I'm going to ask Lisa to get on now, and we might have to get to some of these questions later, but I think some of them might be repeats. So Lisa, are you ready? Okay. Woohoo! Let's see. So I'm going to invite Lisa on now, and we're going to start to talk about cyclical stuff. Robin says, I have to go to class now. Sorry. No problem. You can watch the replay. That's why we have these. Hi.
Hi.
Okay, wait. Can't hear you yet. Let me see here. Okay.
Can you hear me? Let's see.
Thanks, Terry. Oh, wait. So you guys can hear Lisa and I can't hear Lisa. Is this what's going on?
Can anybody else hear me? Hi, Terry. Oh, hi, Kristen.
What's wrong with my computer? No. How annoying is this? Okay, wait. Maybe I can get off. Lisa, you just answer questions. You answer the questions.
Okay. So I will start with the bloating question. So is it normal to not see weight loss progress when you get your period right before the weekly check-in and feel bloated? Approximately how much weight fluctuation is normal the first days of the cycle? Yes, it is completely normal. So, oh, good. Hi, Shan.
Hi.
So I'm answering the question on weight fluctuation before and during your period. So it's totally normal. The average is usually anywhere from like 3 to 5 pounds of weight fluctuation due to all the hormonal changes. But everybody's different. For me personally, my weight can go up as much as 7 pounds. And Shannon knows this very well. So there's a few things going on here that could cause the weight gain and water retention, and it's nothing to really worry about, especially because it starts to change as your hormones shift through your cycle. So, and this kind of ties into the other question about cravings that Kristen asked. So right before your period, both your estrogen and your progesterone rapidly decrease, which also decreases your serotonin, which is why your body starts to crave more carbs. It's looking for that bump in energy and serotonin that it can get from consuming carbohydrates. So you have that going on. Your hormones are taking this huge dip. You might feel like a decrease in energy, increase in appetite, increase in water retention. So there's just a lot going on right before and during your period. So the weight gain during that time is completely normal. There's also, because as your estrogen dips, your progesterone as well right before your period, it is possible that your cravings increase, your appetite increases, that if you're consuming more food and you're really overdoing it, the weight gain could be because you're overeating too much. And in that case, that's when it's good to start to continue tracking your food intake and your weight and seeing if there's a pattern going on there. We really don't need more than like 200 calories extra during this special time period leading up to your period. Anything more than that is going to be more than water retention as weight gain, if that makes sense. And I think we covered that question. Shannon, do you have anything to add?
Well, first of all, that was great. The only thing that I usually recommend is that, just so people aren't shocked during that time of the month, to track their weight and just to notice, just to kind of like be a witness and a bystander of okay, so I'm stepping on the scale. It's 2 days before my period or my cycle starts. What does my body do? How does it react? Because depending on the types of foods that we're eating and just our general cycle in our body, we will start to see like the trend over each month. Okay, so 2 days before, I start to see it increase. And then the day that it starts, I really start to see an increase. And then a couple days later, now it's dropped down. And then you can start to just prepare for it. Mm-hmm. So you don't make it crazy.
Like, I think it's, it gives you reassurance, like, okay, this is normal. My weight's going to increase. It's not permanent at all. It just, that's what the cycle is. It goes up and down.
The only other thing I would add is when we are craving certain things, I think it's nice to even have a log of what we crave. Like things that are higher in magnesium and iron that our body will really need during those times. So we can almost, because I think in our culture right now, we're so used to people just giving us something and saying, here, eat this, instead of actually checking in with our body and going like, what do I feel like having? Like, what am I really craving? Because then what we're really craving, we might even discover that what is contained inside that food, like red meat, for example, or dark chocolate, has the thing that our body needs to like heal itself and encourage all the proper functions. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And then with cravings in particular, so I'm just going to read this really quick because I thought this was fascinating.
Yeah.
Where did it go? Okay, so as your hormones start to dip, like right before your period, your serotonin levels dip as well. Your metabolism can actually go up slightly and increase, and so you'll be burning a little bit extra calories because you're preparing for a potential baby, because that's really what's happening. So again, the increase in hunger and the cravings can totally be normal. And then also with magnesium in particular, where did I write this down?
I can't wait to hear about magnesium. There's a lot of fruit here that has a ton of magnesium in it.
So as your hormone levels shift right before your period, your magnesium levels drop. And so that's why most women crave chocolate, because that's where magnesium. And it's also fills the craving for like carbohydrates and that increase in serotonin that we're looking for. So it's really not surprising. And once you start, especially if you start tracking your period, you may notice the same cravings come every time, and it's with this nutrient that your body's looking for.
Totally. Yes. Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Lisa, don't go anywhere.
Okay.
I'm like, I think it's great to have you. Okay, so we answered that guy too. Okay, so we have one more that came here from Ro. And it says, do I code sugar alcohols as straight carbs in MyFitnessPal? I've read on some blogs that you can code them as 0.5 carbs, but wanted to hear your take. A protein bar I use has sugar alcohols. Would you like me to answer this one? Or do you want to take a go?
I think we count everything. We don't subtract out. Like, we don't do net carbs because there's no free foods.
No, there's no free foods. So it's a great question, Robin, because a lot of people have them. The whole net carb thing is basically saying that there's more fiber involved than there are in certain ingredients like sugar alcohols, so it can't be used effectively as energy. But that doesn't mean that there isn't an impact on your body. And generally speaking, when we look at things like sugar alcohols, our body is having to do a bit of work to move those through the system. And a lot of sugar alcohols can't actually be digested. And if they can't be digested, that means the body has to go through another process to get rid of them. So you might see that when you are consuming items that have higher sugar alcohol contents, that your digestive system might be a little affected. And it doesn't happen to everyone, but things like Quest bars, not all Quest bars have the high sugar alcohols, but some of them do. And those ones, in my experience, when I've eaten them, I was like, whew, I should not be around people right now. We're just gonna, like, sorry. Too much information, but obviously Lisa knows what I'm talking about.
Oh, I know, for sure. The same thing happened. I'm like, oh, can't eat those.
Nope. And amazingly enough, it didn't happen in the very beginning. Like when I first started eating Quest bars, I was like, "Ooh, these are delicious!" And when they get warm, they're amazing. And then after about like a week or so of having them daily, I was like, "Nah, this is gotta find another option."
Yeah.
Yes. So to answer your question, we do count them, and you might also notice that maybe sugar alcohols aren't all they're cracked up to be.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, there's one more that we can answer together, and then we will close this off. Okay. We already answered that one. Oh, we're doing great. So this last question, I had back-to-back effort days and overindulged. What can I do to get down another pound this week? Lisa, we kind of already talked about this, but you want to take a go?
Yeah, I think this is totally normal, and especially for like this time of year, I feel like the sun's out, we're all excited that, we can get outside, and winter's coming to an end, and we have all these social events and a lot of drinking and eating. And if we're not already kind of in this practice place of, consistent, nourishing eating habits, sometimes these events can kind of throw a wrench in the system. So the first thing, I think you really have to know, like, your relationship with food. Because for me personally, if I, and when I went through the program originally a while back, like if I had an effort day, like a full on, like big effort day, I think my effort days are a little different than most people's. Like you were saying, you know, theirs might have been like a couple hundred calories over. Mine might have been greater. And so I was noticing just with myself, like a very like massive binge pattern. And then, you know, the days afterward, I would try and restrict to make it balance out for the week. That's like what we don't want to do. And so then you kind of get in that cycle of like really restricting, and then your body's going to freak out at some point and want more food and nourishment. Mm-hmm. So honestly, the way out of it, at least for me, so that you're not having these like big, massive intake days and then feeling guilty about it and then trying to make up for it with restriction, is just start to eat normal, like eat on the balance plan, like eat what works, like don't even bother trying to, you know, make up for it or restrict further the next couple of days if it's going to put you back in that cycle. So mm-hmm. check for that pattern, because if you're finding that every weekend you have these huge intake days and then you dial it back to like under 1,000 calories mm-hmm. for the week, that's not sustainable, and your body doesn't want to do that. So just pick a day and just start with like a moderate intake, and then see how, you know, how that plays out, and look for any triggers on the weekend of, you know, what's triggering you to make these big food intake decisions. Because sometimes I feel like if we're over restricting during the week and you get to the weekend and you're like, let's go, you know, that's maybe you need to incorporate more fun foods, or just making more satiating, like psychologically satiating meals during the week, mm-hmm. instead of just eating everything for like 1 to 2 days on the weekend. So I think that might help a little bit.
Totally. Yes. All the yes to that. I like when you're talking about like nourishing as well. And then the other aspect, and this is just kind of elaborating on this, because we were talking about everyone having like sunshine and, you know, having these opportunities. So we are always really wanting to encourage you to go in with a plan. If you are noticing that you have these cyclical patterns, that you can then identify, okay, when I'm in these environments or when I'm around these types of people, this is the result. And the only way to really change something that's occurring is to understand where you get triggered and then have a plan for it. And the plan doesn't have to be avoid it. For some people, sometimes that helps beginning to just avoid an environment or a group of people that you feel like you haven't discovered the tools yet to implement to make it easier for you to make the decisions that are for yourself. But the other aspect is actually going in with a plan. So if you go into some sort of weekend and you're like, okay, I know it's going to be a little crazy, maybe it's a bachelorette party, I'm going to give myself a maximum drinking limit of 3 drinks. I'm going to enter that into my app. I'm going to plan ahead of time, and then I'm going to work backwards. I'm going to reduce carbs and other points of the day. I'm going to do it with being accountable to myself, because that accountability is, I think, where most people feel like if they are being told what they should eat, then they're not accountable. Then someone else is telling them what to do. But we are basically asking you to create this for yourself. So you are accountable to you now that you are building these tools. And with these tools, then it just becomes a choice. And so doing the damage control in hindsight doesn't work with anything in life, actually. But if you are going through the discovery phase, and like Lisa said, you're starting to be able to pinpoint where these moments happen, or these triggers, or these environmental patterns that are occurring in your life, then you can go into it and basically go, okay, I know that like on 8 o'clock on Thursdays, and it's warm outside now because it's in the summer, I really want to go across the street to the market and I want to grab myself a pint or a liter of Pepsi. I know that that's what I like to do on Thursdays at 8 o'clock. Okay, so now what do I need to do to throw a wrench in the system and to choose something different? And sometimes that has to be choosing something to fill in its place, or to create yourself a plan to have that thing, but in moderation to what would be appropriate for your body and your goals. And sometimes that takes a little bit more self-reflection, and you can totally ask us about it, but it's a unique process for each person, I think. I'm going to read what Terry's saying here. Feeling control of your eating is empowering. Plan for the things you want to do. Yes. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Do you have anything else to add to that, Lise? We're going a little over here, but we started late.
I think that's pretty spot on. I think like one of the things I plan for on not just the weekends, but any kind of like social events or special events or restaurant meals is just allowing yourself in advance, like you're saying, pre-planning of like, I'm going to have this treat, or like I'm going to eat, this will be my recovery meal. So like knowing that you have that to look forward to, so it doesn't become like a whole day or a whole days of,
Totally. Yeah. And then like you were saying, kind of like spacing out the things that you really enjoy in moderation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's like over here on vacation when I'm going through like the buffets, I look for like all the vegetables, like let's try to get as many veggies as possible, because those can't really be snacks really realistically when you're traveling. And then a lean protein, and then I'm like, ooh, a Danish, and like, and that's my carb or my treat, but it's small. And so I get to do that at every meal, essentially. Yeah. And then spacing treats throughout the day. Mm-hmm. So, okay. This was awesome. I love everyone that was able to join, and it was so fun having Lisa on. I love it.
Oh, I miss you.
No. I'll be back tomorrow, but the day after for you. We have about 20 hours in the plane.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Terry and Marge, for staying on the whole time, and for everyone else, you guys will be able to watch the replay. And if you have any more questions, just feel free to ask away in the Facebook group. For those of you in Cellmark, I want to touch on this. For those of you in the Cellmark course, movement is about to start next week. And I know some of you have expressed that you are ready to get moving. So that is coming for you. And it's something that we really encourage you to set aside some time, at least 2 days out of the week, to schedule some sort of movement for yourself. And it's a date that you cannot miss with yourself. It's for you. And so that's coming at you. All right. Shall we say sayonara?
Have a good day to you.
Thank you. Have a good night. So funny. Yes. Okay. Thanks all. Happy Easter.